Welcome everyone. In today's video, I just wanted to talk about the Arbitrum airdrop. Now, we all knew that this was coming after Optimism dropped their token a year and a bit ago. We all knew that Arbitrum was eventually going to drop their token, and today's the day they decided to do that. So they announced on their Twitter, they put out a whole thread talking about the airdrop, as well as some other important things and upgrades that are happening in the Arbitrum ecosystem. But if we just skip to the important stuff, if you go to arbitrum.foundation, I'll leave links to everything that I mentioned in this video in the description. And so as you can see here, the claiming will be live within a week's time. So I think on the 24th, you'll be able to actually claim your Arbitrum tokens if you have an actual claim. So you connect your wallet there. As you can see, this is one of the wallets I own, and I have 875 ARB tokens. I have two wallets that qualified, and there are several different criteria here that you're judged on, and depending on whether or not you fill these criteria, you'll be able to get more ARB tokens. So if you've bridged into Arbitrum or bridged into Arbitrum Nova, those are points that add up to how much ARB tokens you'll get. I missed out on the Arbitrum Nova one. I knew I should have bridged over there the moment it came out, but I just forgot about it, and I didn't think this Arbitrum airdrop was going to come so soon. So transactions over time. So as you can see here, it measures on how much you've been actually active on Arbitrum, conducting transactions on different distinct months, transaction frequency and interaction, so how many transactions you've done or how many interactions with smart contracts you've done, transaction value. So if you've swapped like tens of thousands of dollars in tokens, then you would have gotten a lot of this. Assets bridged to Arbitrum 1, so this is how much you've actually deposited to Arbitrum, and then any activity on Arbitrum Nova. So if you're not familiar, Arbitrum Nova is the other chain that they launched. It's more focused on like social media and gaming and that sort of thing, but this has been around for a while. I just haven't ever talked about it on my channel. Now let's talk about the tokenomics. So if we go on to the Arbitrum DAO governance documents, we can see here the initial supply cap is 10 billion and inflation is max 2% a year, which is great because I think the Optimism token, the inflation rates are insanely high. And that means there's a lot of selling pressure on the market for Optimism. And so having max 2% a year is actually better for the fundamentals of the Arbitrum token. And we can see here the initial token allocation and airdrop distribution. So 42% are going to the Arbitrum DAO treasury, 26.94% to the off-chain labs and team, 17.5% to the off-chain labs investors. So that's all of the VCs. 11.62% to users of the platform via an airdrop, and 1.1% to DAOs building dApps on Arbitrum. So I don't know whether or not they're going to do a second round of airdrops like Optimism did. I think Optimism, when they announced that they were doing their airdrop, they actually said that there would be a second one coming along, but there hasn't been any mention of that in the Arbitrum docs, as I can see here. And you can get a bit of a more detailed look into what qualifying actions were for actually receiving the Arbitrum airdrop here. Now, I know a question that a lot of you have is there going to be any utility to the ARB token? And I'm just going to say no, there isn't. It is purely governance. And we know that DeFi governance tokens don't really perform well over time, because most of the time you're going to be outvoted by whales, VCs, the team themselves. But if you're really into governance, then I guess, yeah, this is the token for you. So ETH is the transactional token, whilst ARB is a governance token, which is kind of disappointing. I think they should have made Arbitrum a token that you can use to pay for gas. So ETH is still the main gas token for Arbitrum. So ARB is not, and ARB is purely just a governance token. So I think in the future, you will get a chance to stake ARB tokens for revenue share from the sequences, because part of the reason why they would actually release a token is to decentralize the sequences, right? Whilst that hasn't been announced yet, I think in the future, it's probably something that is going to happen. So now just going into a couple of tweets that I thought were interesting. DeFi Maestro put out this one. So with the announcement of ARB tokens comes the fun part. 56% of the supply goes to the community. 11.5% airdrop to users, 1.1% to DAOs, and 43.3% likely to be decided by governance to reward Arbitrum protocols. Now, I'm not quite sure that's what is actually going to happen. It will more likely be grants and stuff like that to fund things that are happening in the Arbitrum ecosystem rather than ARB emissions. That 1.1% is more likely to be ARB emissions. But basically, he put out a couple of tweets here highlighting the DeFi protocols that are most likely to get the Arbitrum emissions, similar to what we see in Optimism. So in the Optimism ecosystem, you can get paid out in Optimism rewards for like trading on Quenta, for example, and a bunch of other different dexes there, or using different money markets and that sort of thing. So GMX, Uniswap, Radiant, Sushi, Trader Joe, Stargate, Camelot, Aave, Curve, and Vila are likely to be the front runners in protocols that will get the most ARB emissions. Now, onto the last part. I think is probably the most interesting part of this video is how much is that Arbitrum airdrop likely to be worth? So this guy's put out an excellent tweet. I've liked it and retweeted here. Just a bunch of different predictions that people have made based on comparisons to Optimism, Polygon, analyzing TVL and transaction volume. So we'll go into the first one. And so we have here a prediction of $1 to $2. Another one here, 65 cents. Average Joe predicts a price of $1.84 per ARB token. This guy gives a couple of scenarios. So it could be 68 cents, 2 cents, $1.26, and $1.88. DeFi Surfer. So he compares Arbitrum to Optimism, giving a estimate of 2 times the fully diluted value. And given the price per token, he's come up with $2 per token. And our last one here, if we just click on here, again, just giving the circulating market caps, the current market caps, market value, and fully diluted value of Optimism, Aptos, and Polygon. They estimate Arbitrum to be worth roughly $1.15 per ARB token. So just by going off a lot of these predictions, I think it might be safe to assume that each ARB token is worth $1. So if you're eligible for 1,000 ARB tokens, then you've got a $1,000 airdrop, which is quite generous from them, really. And lastly, if you want to bet on the price of ARB 1 week after launch, where it will go, you can go to Polymarket. I'll leave a link in the description below. So as I said before, I'll leave links in the description down below so you can check out everything that I talked about today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one.